Welcome back to Whitt Acres. It's week 7 of the growing season, and we're going to take a walk around the gardens, see what's looking good this time of year. Welcome back to Whitt Acres. And if you're new here, welcome to my garden tours where I walk around my gardens here in western Pennsylvania every week and show you what's changed, how they're progressing, and what's blooming looking good during the growing season. So we'll take a walk around and see what's changed from last week. So the main change out here is we had a tank truck come and fill up the pond. It's not completely full, but we did get a lot of water in there, so it's looking a lot nicer, and I'm able to run my waterfall right now and make a little tweaks. But it does look really nice out here with all the plantings. I got my 6 pots out on the staircase here with the pink Vista Petunia, 3 sweet potato vines, and then another Vista Petunia at the end. They're mirror image, you can't really see in the shade, but they got the same plantings on both sides. Then we can come into the cold frame, which is mimicking some pink, because I have a sweet pea blooming right here. Look at this. It's taken so long. I planted this I actually planted this sweet pea back before our last frost happened, because I had the cold frame with the lid on it. So I planted a lot of things in there that would be able to start in cold weather as the sweet pea, because they don't like the hot weather that we've been having for the last couple weeks supposedly, but this one's doing pretty well in the heat. A lot of this is radishes going to seed, so I'm just leaving them for the flowers and the pollinators, and then I can actually pick off these little radish pods and you can throw them in salads because they have a very mild radish flavor and they work. They're edible. Oh, I've been using the lettuce greens for Bumbles, my goose, and he's been getting a lot of those. We still have some lilies blooming up here. The sea holly erigium's coming into flower. We also have the purple speedwell veronica and the bubblegum veronica up there blooming. So we got reds, yellows, purples, pinks. We got the blue from the Chinese forget-me-not coming in here. That's all volunteer there. I just worked around it. Down at the bottom is the impatiens looking good. I plugged in a dichondra silver falls in my broken pot here. So hopefully that'll spill over and look pretty natural. Batcher button starting to bloom some blue. But look at this view here. I am loving it. It's a gorgeous view. We got the wave petunias, the triangularis oxalalis, that weird plant, the ground cover. We don't have the water full. It's definitely going to be higher than this, covering the fish cave. But the waterfall is able to run and it's looking good. I'll have a video going through all the waterfall in detail because there is a lot going on with the waterfall. There's many different weeping stones and spillways and different waterfalls within the waterfall. So look out for that video on more detailed of the waterfall there. So we have more pinks and yellows over here with the wave petunias and the creeping Jenny looking good. The volunteer sunflowers are getting huge. They were not supposed to get that big. I was thinking maybe like 3 feet tall, and now they're definitely 5 feet tall. I can see a bunch of heads on the sunflower, so it's going to put on a good show, but we really didn't want tall things like that in the pond bank here. We have the bed of portulaca looking gorgeous right there with the pineapple sitting on the stone. We still have lilies blooming all over the property, looking beautiful as well, and the hostas are starting to come in. Zinnias, all the annuals, the cosmos. That annual dahlia is even blooming in there beautifully. A nice red to that one. But that blanket of portulaca is just so thick and beautiful this year. So the water is in the pond, looking gorgeous. We got the destination stone that's cantilevering over the pond there. I think it turned out really well. So we still have a lot of edge work to do before the pond's even presentable to have anybody over, but it's really coming together. We got the stone all banked up here around the beach area and the intake bay, so everything's up to level, holding in the water, and I really like it. More beautiful daylilies blooming here on the ramp bed. The spiderwort's out of bloom right now, but it's definitely coming back in. We have some dahlias starting to bloom here. Beautiful red dahlia there. We got some yellows, Hosta's starting to bloom, and then the Vista petunias adding some color with the French dwarf marigold hedge right there in the front. In my shadow we have a pink zinnia and a pink portulaca adding some color as well. I haven't got to pruning back the irises yet. Cut all the heads off, but I'm gonna come in here and clean up all those leaves here before they get too ugly. And I don't think I have the calla lilies in there anymore, so I'll just clean those out, and I'll have to find something else to put along the back side, maybe an annual. I find it hard to capture everything on camera that I'm seeing, but I'm just trying to see the pond because I come down here and it's another angle and everything's just looking so beautiful. I want to try and get everything on camera that I can. It just looks so good here, so I always want to go around and take videos and pictures of things, and then I get it on the computer and start editing, and it doesn't quite look the way that I saw it in person, but I'm trying. So all of you that do watch my videos know that I am loving the way the vegetable garden is looking this year. I got all this built this year, so this infrastructure and fencing and new garden beds around the fencing is all new this year, and it's just looking beautiful. It's all young, so there's not a lot of mature things in here, but there's still a lot of color and a lot of interest to see. We have the bed of portulaca with the calla lily blooming. Snapdragons are coming in. We have a red rudbeckia that's about to bloom there. The hibiscus is getting nice and full. We have a drift of dahlias that are blooming all different colors over here as well. Looking good underneath the rising sun red bud that has just gorgeous foliage. And I think the yarrow is starting to bloom behind it. So let's check out the pinkish red yarrow coming into flower right now as well. Come on, there we are. So I got this one from a friend's garden, which is really nice to be able to grab some plants and spread them through your garden as well for free. We have the elephant ear that's coming up behind it, and I didn't think that was going to be alive, but I'm glad to see it is. We have a purple hyacinth bean vine that I have growing all over the property, but this one I'm planning on hitting or attaching to the fence. So I'll just tuck one leaf in there so it's stuck to the fence a little bit better. And I'm going to train that one to climb up the fence, and we'll see what it can do. On the inside of the garden, it was looking super dry because we seriously have not had rain in over a month. I got this all mulched down here in the pathway, so it's looking a lot neater and nicer without all the weeds. You can see my shadow, but it's looking a lot nicer here. I have a chamomile that I just popped in here to start perennializing, and it's looking nice and healthy. This is one of the moments where I'm trying to capture everything that I want to, all the different levels and detail and color, but it's just hard to get that on camera. We have the pink dianthus, we have the pink from the calla lilies, the pink from the butterfly bush, all wrapping around the bird bath here. All the spikes of the gladiolas are coming up, and they are putting on some big buds as well for nice color to come soon. We also have lilies still blooming down here, and another lily, a different variety, is a little bit further behind, and it's coming in right there to bloom. So the pollinators definitely have a lot here to choose from. We have some zinnias plugged in for later color. Calendula over here that's blooming. This butterfly bush is actually doing its best show that it's ever done. This butterfly bush is well over 15 years old, but it was not doing very well at all, so I pruned it all the way back to the ground 2 years ago, and this is it coming back up. It'll probably need pruned in the fall to help contain it, but it's just putting on a lot of new growth and blooms that we didn't have before. So if you look across the garden here, you can see the pollinator patch, but there's a lot of layers of color going through the high density bed there with the kale and the chard and the romaine and the calendula, and then even another layer back we have a bunch of volunteer calendulas popping up. The calendula is just gorgeous out here. So if we pan over, we have another raised bed full of broccoli, onions, cabbage, and a volunteer pumpkin that's just exploding out of the center of the J bed here. The broccoli's looking pretty good. Well, it's growing. It doesn't look really good, but it does have a couple little broccoli heads starting on it. But look at this tango leaf lettuce. It is massive. It's 4 feet tall, as big as the obelisk is. So is its buddy here, the red tango. And I'm just going to be collecting seeds from this and then feeding it to my chickens, goose, and ducks. So it won't go to waste, but I do want to try and get some seeds off of this if I can, because I've let it go this far, so I'd like to try and reap some benefits from it. It has been so dry here, you can actually see the cracks in my raised bed. Huge cracks, like look at that. There's no water at all in this area. My squashes are growing really well. There's a bunch of random squashes in here, but I do have a zucchini coming on right here from this little plant. Let's see if I can find another random squash that's not a zucchini, because these were all volunteers. So I'm not sure what is actually gonna come about. You can see that one has slightly different gourd-like squash, and then this one over here is even rounder, kind of yellow like a pumpkin, but I don't think that's gonna be a pumpkin. I think it's gonna be a gourd or squash. Out here in the pumpkin patch, it is super dry again. You can see all the cracking going on in the clay soil. We just have no moisture out here, so I'm trying to water these the best I can. But like I said, there's a lot of water out here, and water's not the cheapest thing. So they're getting along the best that they can with the water that they're getting, but we just don't have any rain out here. These vines are about 5 feet now. They could easily be double that if they're getting the proper amount of water. But take what you can get from nature, because we're just not getting any water or rain. I'm only coming down here about once a week to water all these plants, so they are getting a lot of hot weather and a little bit of stress from that. If I was down here watering more, they'd be looking a lot better, but you do what you can, and you try and work with Mother Nature the best that you can. The gecko pup, chilling in the shade, buddy, huh? Got the compost getting pretty full, and we even have some things growing out of it. Some gourds growing out, some potatoes growing out of it too. So I always let these go and never actually kill them off from the compost. I just let them go and see if I can get some decoration out of them. But the chicken poop and the duck poop and the goose and the all the brooding materials have been coming down here for more compost, and that's going to be really good for the garden next year. Just another pan shot of the garden, because it's just looking so beautiful right now. The asparagus is in full fern. This beautiful hedge of calendula that all volunteered this year is just remarkable. We have more pumpkins over here, and the whole line of pumpkins is doing okay. Like I said, if I was watering, they'd be doing a lot better. I have lost a few. You can see they're all sizzled out over there because they're just drying out, and some of them the bugs have got to them. But they're just taking what they can get, and the strong will survive. My Royal Empress down here is looking good with the lilies in the background, the daylilies. The irises are done, peonies are done. I do have this daffodil that I'm hoping will put up some stalks. It is a summer daffodil, so it would be blooming in middle of summer, and it won't be blooming in the spring. Some of this grass out of here. The weeds are kind of easy to pull because the ground's so dry that they haven't rooted very deeply at all. So I did get the Empress all cut back to one stalk here, and you can see I left 2 branches there. So I'm not 100% sure if I want to cut them. They are kind of high enough above the garden here to where I might leave them. So I pulled all the suckers from the trunk down to the bottom, and you can see we have some suckers trying to come back up from that one stalk that I cut, and then there's the stump from the other big trunk that I cut. So we're back down to one tree and some big leaves. The straight bed out here isn't really showing a ton of signs of growth. If it was getting more water, like I said, you can see how we got leaf curl on the tomatoes because it was 90 degrees today. It's actually 90 degrees right now. So all the pumpkin leaves are kind of wilted down as well. We do have a little baby pumpkin on here, and you do not want that. On a plant this small, you want to get any of these baby pumpkins off of here. It's only putting these pumpkins out because it's stressed and it's trying to finish its cycle of dropping some seed. But we don't want that to happen yet. We got to get the pumpkin to be a lot bigger than that before we start setting fruit. So this is the vegetable garden at this time of the year, late June. I think it's looking really nice. Let me know what you guys think down below, and we'll head on to the next garden. Before we run off, we'll take a quick look at the sun border. I don't have it edged out beautifully, but I do have it edged to the yard. Got to get that a lot straighter before I really show it off. We do have 2 sunflowers that came up from my planting, my sowing. We have some calla lilies blooming here. I have 1 dahlia that survived my wintering over. Some lupin, some zinnia blooming, some iris, bachelor button, petunia, Shasta daisy, and a bunch of other stuff. It's all very young, but there is some color getting put on, which is nice. And we'll just have to see how it progresses. From the rose garden, I did plug in one big pink rose down there on the corner, right in the center of the corner garden down there. So we do have another perennial down there, as well as 4 mission yellow marigolds. So hopefully I'll get some bright color popping off in the corner there until I can get that end garden finished. I did actually start digging my field pond as well. I just wanted to open it up in case I put the ducks out there at some point, but there's no water out there. It hasn't rained in over 4 weeks here on the property, so it's really hard to keep a nice garden looking nice whenever you don't have any water. Checking in on the island garden. It is lily season, so we still have lilies popping up. We have the red in the back here with the pink. It looks like the white's done. The blue sea iridium, we'll take a peek at this because look at the pollinators. There's always pollinators on this plant. Like, no joke, they're always there. There's always something on there, and there's usually different species on there. So on the sun side of the peninsula here, we have some crocosmia coming into bloom. This is the first crocosmia blooming. This is a lucifer crocosmia. It's of the same family as the gladiola. It just has that more lateral style bloom, so that's nice to have out here. It's the only one out here, so it blooms at a little bit different time than the gladiolas. Down here we have some hostas that are going to be coming into bloom here shortly, and some daylilies. I got all these daylilies plugged in here, a couple different colors. I got them all plugged in last year, so I would have color out here during this time of year, and it's working. It's a beautiful yellow one, adding a nice spot of color out here. These massive 4-foot lilies, some are 5 foot, are looking gorgeous. We have a full handful of color right there, and good bunches going down the back side of the island here, adding color across the property, matching other color, because we have these here, but we also have them on the end of the pond right there, and we have them out front, which adds a lot of consistency coming around the property. So these ones are blooming too, looking very nice. Right when these lilies are done, the hostas are right behind them to add some purple color. We have some volunteer sunflowers popping up over here on the back side of the pathway, and the calla lilies are not blooming yet. So these ones get a little bit less sun than all the other ones, so hopefully these will still be putting on some blooms this year around the pathway. You can see we did not get any mulch this past Sunday like I was hoping we were going to, so we don't have anything mulched yet. So it's looking dry and kind of weedy. I plugged this pot in here just because I didn't have any other ideas at the moment, so I just threw a pot in there for some interest. I put a burning bush annual in there because it's a good contrast between the red pot, but I also just have a ton of burning bush annuals, so it was an easy plant to plug in there. And if I want to change it throughout the season, I'll be able to just pull that out without any actual work being taken away. The Empress Woo is beautiful right now. Nice full stalks of blooms going on here, and the plant's getting a lot bigger. It's just really nice to see all these orange daylilies popping through the background or the foreground everywhere, because I just love the pop of color that they add. We have the Japanese maple with the coreopsis and the Shasta daisy beside it. The hydrangea's coming into bloom right now, but it's not really putting off its full color. But look at the hedge of daylilies. Just beautiful out here. We also have yuccas blooming here on the property. I've moved a few of these around the property to get them into more sun spots. So this one is actually blooming for the first time this year. Maybe last year it bloomed, but I think it's putting on its best color right now this year, with the orange daylilies as a backdrop. And then in the food forest we have another one that's blooming. It's harder to see, but it's still putting on a nice little pop of color where we want it. Over here below the ash tree that's still here, we have another orange daylily, of course. Nice little giraffe from my grandma's. And a monarda that I finally actually got to overwinter in the ground out here and come up beautifully. It's actually fizzling out right now, but the bees have been all over this whenever it was in full color. I'm just happy to get one through the winter. I have the pen out here and the swimming pool, because after the tour I'm going to be filling this pool up and getting all my ducks and my goose out here in the yard so they can get some time outside instead of being cooped up in the brooder. They can get all cleaned off in the water. They are underneath the yellow maple, which is providing them shade. This is a new tree that we put in this year, and it's looking nice and healthy. Then we have all the daylilies coming down the driveway, which are just gorgeous. I'm glad I put these out here. I got the new marble pathway and a big old daylily right here on the side. This one's just huge. It's hard to see in the shade a little bit, but this one is a good looking one. I did not do anything with the poplar bed yet. So the poplar bed's not really looking good yet. It's not finished, but we do have some Shasta daisies popping up and some color coming into this area here. We also have the sedums and the hostas that will be coming behind the daylilies for the whole way down the driveway row. So we'll have color along the driveway for majority of the summer here. I was getting worried about the jungle garden here at the pergola, but I'm actually thinking it's going to turn out pretty well. We have this volunteer tulip poplar, which is just looking beautiful and so healthy. Can't wait to transplant that out into the landscape. But we have a gorgeous firelight hydrangea taking off and blooming right now, and a bunch more buds to keep blooming through the summer. This one is a dark suit or a black angel, something like that. And I'm still waiting for any buds to start forming on this one. But it was a nice surprise to see that my elephant ears are alive, so that's going to add to the jungle feel out here in the jungle garden a lot with the big old leaf like that. Hey puppy, you just know where to stand to always look good, don't you, bud? That's a good picture. This is looking nice with all the texture since it's done blooming. This was that Ansonia. This is a big old pink. Oh, look at you, caterpillar. What are you doing, buddy? You're fuzzy. This is a pink lily, so for some reason it's behind all the other ones, but that'll be nice to have this come up and bloom after all the yellow and all the red and yellow lilies are done. We have a little Rebecca coming in here, which is a reddish pink color, so that one's going to be a little different and nice. It's getting kind of hidden by the volunteer sunflower, but should be okay. On my red trumpet vine here, I am noticing that I have a cluster of buds right there. Look at that. So we are going to be getting a bloom show on this year, which is going to be very nice because you can see as I keep backing up here, it is a very nice shape on the corner of this pergola. This is a variegated feather reed grass, and it is just looking beautiful right now. It's very soft texture foliage. It's about to open up to seed, but I'm just letting it go because it's so nice and flowing in the wind. I like that. We're coming into the pathway. We have some gladiolas that are perennializing over here from last year. And then this year I plugged in this drift of calla lilies that are starting to do good, putting off some nice color. I got to do a lot of weeding around here in the pathways and stuff, but I just haven't got to it. I'm trying to get everything in the ground and growing before I can actually do a lot of maintenance. There's a lot going on around here, so I'm just trying to keep up with it. I did plug in some of these gourds and squashes, some pumpkins. I have another elephant ear coming up over here. And then we have some maybe jelly melons coming up in here. So I'm trying to train these, and then I can get rid of all these weeds. Hopefully all those pumpkins and squash will fill in this area, and I can knock down some of the weeds over here. Gotta fix my pathway, it's all crooked. Yeah, it doesn't look great, but I gotta get in here and do some weeding. Right here I have a gourd. That's the first gourd. Oh, squash bug. Yeah, squash bugs go after gourds as well. This is the first gourd that I'm getting to attach to my trellis. So you'll see how that happens. I just feed it through every day on the warm parts of the day. Just feed it in and let it grow on this side, and then I'll feed it back through that hole and feed it in through this hole and so on up the trellis till it gets to the top, and then I let it go wild on the top. Back here we have another calla lily grouping that's looking good. Nice volunteer sunflower here and a couple more over here. They were volunteers, but I did move them so they were actually in the right position, and they're still growing. You can transplant sunflowers. Another elephant ear got bit. It is hot out here and the bugs are crazy. Looks like I have another gourd that is about ready to attach to the trellis. So I'm gonna send it straight through to the other side and then let it keep on growing up. Around the corner here, it's a little hard to see in the camera, but we have a hosta going here. volunteer sunflower back here, elephant ear popping up in there, calendula there, as well as a drift on the right side. We have another elephant ear, hosta, calendula, and then the one thing I wanted to show you is look at this echinacea. Beautiful blue slate leaves, but not only that, it's blooming way up here. This is a 6.5, 7 foot tall echinacea plant. Look, I'm 6'4". That's a big plant right there. This thing is just looking beautiful, and I'm loving the height of where it is back here, kind of hiding all our garbage and stuff, but I'm glad that it got this tall. It's really working in right into the silver lace vine arch, which is just beautiful this year. It's hard to get it on camera, but if you get up inside here, it is just a beautiful archway. We're kind of facing into the sun, but you can see the arch is in full bloom with the silver lace. It's looking beautiful and white. I love it. Alright, it is about time to get my ducks out, so we're going to run through the front garden really quick and wrap it up there. It is beautiful out here right now with the knockout roses, all the annual burning bush. The yuccas are blooming again this year. They are supposed to be biennials, but we have a big grouping in there, so they pretty much bloom every single year. Still waiting on the Russian sage, which does look like it's starting to put on its color for the 4th of July. Just hoping that the yuccas are able to hold out and we'll be able to get a whole spectrum of red, white, and blue out here in the corner. The consistency of the yellow blooms of lilies are out here as well, looking just gorgeous with a nice tall grouping. I have a balloon flower down here that's putting on its first bloom of the year, and it has a lot more buds to go. You can see right before it blooms, looks like a little hot air balloon. I believe that's why they call it a balloon flower. But it does have a beautiful little purple flower. You know I like my purple. Take a quick look at the mailbox while I grab the mail, because we still have yellow blooms, chameleon vine. The hosta is going to be blooming here shortly, adding some extra color. But look at that clematis vine. Just gorgeous with the reed grass in the back. Red lily still blooming on this corner. And I really haven't done anything with the front here. I planted some sunflowers, and that's about it, so I'm not really showing much out here. This grass here I actually got from a friend's house, and it is getting massive. I might actually split this up so I can get it around the property in some other locations so they can all get really big. You can hear how crisp the grass is. It's so dry out here. I just have to keep saying, just so you know. Take a look at this black-eyed Susan. It just looks like it's completely dried up. Definitely needs some water. Leaf curl, looks like the bud's tiny. It's just coming into flower right now, but it's struggling because of no moisture. The Russian sage, this is the blue jean baby sage. I have a few of them over here. They don't seem to have a problem with the moisture. They like it dry, so this is no problem for them. But all my other plants, they love moisture, so this is definitely one of the gardens I need to water today. The daylilies are blooming all behind the holly and hydrangea row out here, looking pretty nice up until we get the fence line in. It'll be real nice when we get the fence all the way through here, so we have actual nice structured backdrop. That does not look like a hydrangea. Nope. But the hydrangeas are looking pretty good. I have been trying to get these watered whenever I come out and water my new oak tree. Trying to keep all that wet, plus the new garden expansion that I just put in here. Look, check out that video. This thing is doing okay because I have been watering it. Another rose that came from the rose bed on the patio ended up here underneath the Cleveland pear. The phlox is blooming, and the Vista pink petunias keep consistency around the property. I like to have that pink all over. I'm hoping the Bobo hydrangea puts on some blooms here soon. It's already budded up nicely. Then we got the willow, the corkscrew willow that's just loving its water. So you can see it's kind of dry already, and this garden is definitely one that gets watered today. So I try and split up the watering of the gardens. I do the east line, which is the vegetable garden, the perennial garden, the new garden expansion, and the hydrangea row going out the side here. And then I'll do the food forest, the pergola, the island, and around the pond on a different day, which is more on the west side. I just split it up so I'm on the same side of the house and I don't have to pretty much spend my whole entire evening watering everything on the same day. We are supposed to get some rain here tomorrow, but they've been saying that, and I really just want it to rain. Down here in the side garden, I kind of call the perennial garden sometimes, or the fairy garden, but for right now it's just a side garden because it lacks a lot of focus. It just has some plants in it, adding some beauty here and there, but it really has no direction right now. We have a sedum budding up here. We have volunteer cleome coming into flower right here, which I do like this flower, so I like to keep it, I try and keep it self-seeding every year. Behind that is a lily that's about to put on some big old buds, it looks like. That one just finished up, but it has a lot more to go. The woodland phlox is looking beautiful right behind it. It's a really nice color on that one. It's the same phlox that's over here around the laurel. So we should have some consistency there. But we do have Shasta daisy blooming. These are some Shasta daisies I picked up from a friend's garden. So it's really nice that they are alive and well. Not only that, they're huge, massive Shasta daisies that I will be able to split and move around the property as I see fit. Look at all that white. I love this plant. It just blooms for a really long time too. We have the liatris in here popping up, and I'm trying to get these to grow out. Usually covered in pollinators, but it's a really hot time of day, so maybe they're all fizzled up. And we still have some red carnations blooming over here as well, looking pretty nice. And we also have some lilies finishing up here, some beautiful red ones and some daylilies still putting on some blooms here by the greenhouse. I need to get the shade cloth covering the greenhouse and all my trays put away. It's that time of year where I'm pretty much caught up on my planting and I can start organizing, getting the gardens looking good and presentable for any company that comes over. I want to get the shade cloth on the greenhouse so it protects the plastic and doesn't really yellow out from all this hot afternoon sun. That's going to be all for this one. Let me know how you think the gardens are coming together this year and what you think of them, what we can do better around here. Let me know what you think of the video, if I can do something better to make your tours a little bit more enjoyable. Hit that like button before you leave if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you want to see some more. And you can see me and Echo in the garden next week. Thanks for watching.